away with it. And again, it's tough in the end. You team last year and having years, and now this year. I mean, taking the NBA like that can draw the roster. It's been tough sledding. Kind of marquee win last night. Big time. They were to win it by 4 in SEC play this year. Up to 6-2. So Fayetteville, and then last night Vanderbilt smoked Kentucky, 80-55. So Vanderbilt, they continue to have an impressive start to the season. Well, I guess we're halfway through the season now, so it's not an impressive start. They're just having an impressive season.
Yeah.
So they're doing a really, really nice job there. But yeah, last night's one of those nights for Kentucky that I think you have a lot of people going, man, do we need to really just go ahead and try to make a change? When you have, I don't think I'd ever seen this before, but you literally had a situation where Kentucky turned the ball over because I don't know if they were, somebody was mad that they were having to inbound it or whatever, but you have a guy literally standing to inbounds the ball after Vanderbilt just scored, and he's just like throwing it to his teammate, inbounding the ball, and then turning it back over to Vanderbilt because they're just not paying attention and communicating on who's going to inbound the ball, and he's just throwing it to his teammate, and turnover because you weren't paying attention to where you were standing when you did. Like,
situational awareness.
Those kinds of mistakes that's just the stuff that happens when your team's not locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens when you've just got a bunch of, I hate to say it, but like if you just have a bunch of mercenaries out there, like they're just out there playing.
Right. Going through the motions.
Yeah.
And this is Kentucky.
They're just trying to get to the end of the buzzer. Like
right.
they just want it to be over.
This isn't like a program where, listen, we don't want to talk about the bottom feeders, but this isn't one of these mid-major schools that are just making mistakes. This is the University of Kentucky. These guys,
they spent over $20 million on this roster.
Exactly.
And this is what
this is the product that we're having. Yeah, Mark Pope, listen, he's a Kentucky guy, and I think a lot of people had a lot of juice when he was hired because he's a Kentucky guy.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I didn't envision this going the way that it has. And, if you're Coach Cal, you're sitting at Arkansas of, you can be mad at me all you want, but we weren't making mistakes like this. Now, we may be the 15 seed and get beat every now and then, but at least we were running into a team that probably got hot for a day.
Yeah.
No, this is just bad. This is a bad inside. Like this is a situation where the locker room is not there.
Yep.
They're hearing the noise. Everybody's affected, and you see mistakes like that. And if you're Vanderbilt, you're like, okay, we'll take that, appreciate it, and we'll move on. So I think for Kentucky, not to say the days of them being dominant are over, but it's not looking pretty right now to begin the Mark Pope era the past couple seasons.
No, I would say, in football, to compare to that, like it reminds you a little bit of like probably like for me how I felt watching the Florida State and Alabama game this year, where you're just watching it and it's like you're saying it's the okay, yeah, that like you probably known for a while like you're not going to be as dominant as you used to be, but you're still kind of hanging on to what you have had in recent memory. But deep down that it's probably gone just a little bit. But then you're watching the game and you're going, oh, okay, this is different. Like this is just they don't care, right? Like you got a bunch of kids out there that just don't want to be there, right? And that's I think the most shocking part at times. And I think that's what Kentucky's going through a little bit is you're like, okay, it seems like you should have everything you want. You're getting paid a lot of money. You play basketball for the University of Kentucky, and yet this is the kind of effort and performance. It's just it's honestly sad to see. I know a lot of people. I don't really have sympathy for Kentucky basketball, but it's one of those things. SEC basketball is better when Kentucky is good. It is what it is, and they have been easily the biggest disappointment in the country so far this season. But that's what happened last night in SEC hoops. You got 4 games coming up tonight. At 6 o'clock, you've got a trio of games. So you got Mississippi State at LSU, Tennessee at Georgia, and then, of course, Texas at Auburn. That game you can watch on ESPN2. You can also hear it right here on JOX. And then at 8 o'clock, Florida at South Carolina. for the late night tip there in the SEC. But should be a lot of fun tonight with Texas and Auburn as Auburn tries to continue that momentum off of the win in Gainesville. I know a lot of people are going to be down there in Neville Arena tonight. I'm sure it'll be rocking. So can't wait to watch that one tonight. And of course, we will have a full recap, reaction, whatever you want to call it, to that game coming up tomorrow morning. But that's enough college basketball. Let's get to the college football front and a little bit of the professional front as well. So we got some big news going on. Auburn, they find a way to, maybe not an addition out of the portal, but they keep a piece of their roster that they're very excited about. And we've got some news. A former Alabama player is getting into the coaching ranks. So we'll tell you everything going on in the college football world next, right here on JOX. Well, welcome back into Morning JOX 6:20 here on your Wednesday morning. Another chilly one here across the state, but it is going to get up into the 40s later on today, so that will certainly be a nice bit of a reprieve before it looks like it's going to get real cold once again over the weekend. But we appreciate you, as always, making us part of your morning here on Morning JOX. So we told you before the break some college football news that we wanted to get to. And as far as Auburn is concerned, we told you that they didn't make another portal addition, so to speak, but still making roster moves. I guess would be one way that you would look at it, and that would be the fact that nose tackle Dallas Walker IV has been given an additional year of eligibility. So he will be back on the defensive line there for the Auburn Tigers this year. The expectation is that he will certainly be at the very least, a rotational piece there on the defensive line up front for Auburn. So this is a guy that, again, has experience. I mean, you look at, what he did this year. 2024 was his most productive year. But you just go and look at this year. I mean, he had 13 total tackles, one forced fumble. But in 2024, I mean, he had 50 tackles, a forced fumble, an interception. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, right? Just somebody that's making plays. So should have more of an expanded role this upcoming year, you would expect. But good news there for Auburn as they get to continue to bolster that depth of that roster a little bit. But I would say a 6'3", 360-pound nose tackle with 4 years of experience playing SEC football. Yeah, you know what? I'll take him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take another year of that guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sign me up for that.
We're there for depth.
Yes. So that's certainly good news if you are an Auburn fan, and something to look forward to as they continue to, in my opinion, do a really, really nice job putting this roster together. So obviously the proof will be in the pudding come football season once they actually have to go up on the field and line up against 11 other guys. But right now, they're doing everything they can, and they're doing a really, really quite stellar job, in my opinion. So we'll see how that continues to go there for the Auburn Tigers. On the Alabama side of things, there was some sad news yesterday that if you didn't see it, I wanted to pass along. And Jeff Allen, who does a great job there, with the football program and their kind of strength and training and health and conditioning unit there, does a really, really nice job. He's well respected. He's been with the program for a very, very long time. And so he posted on social media yesterday that we lost Eddie Conyers, who was a longtime official, and anybody that's been following Alabama football for some time has heard of Eddie and probably heard many stories about his impact, and somebody that has, been around the program since the Coach Bryant days, and would regularly go and officiate scrimmages and practices and things to help out. And I know him and Nick Saban had a very special relationship, and just somebody that was a fixture around the football program, and an icon, and somebody that, especially in today's day and age where it feels like maybe there's not a lot that ties together, the history and legacy of these programs with, what's going on right now, because it's just all money, money, money. Guys like him were constant reminders of the history that a place has, and how special college sports can be, and how much it can mean to people. So thoughts and prayers with him and his family. I'm sure some of you saw that news yesterday, but wanted to pass that along and share our condolences, because he was a fixture around the SEC and Alabama football. So very sad news there, to say the least. But continuing on the Alabama front, you did have some exciting news. We told you that a former player is getting into the coaching ranks, and they're doing so actually in the ACC. So you've got Jamie Mosley, who formerly, many of you will remember his time as a player at Alabama, won a couple of national championships in his time in Tuscaloosa, but he is now heading to Stanford, where he is going to be the defensive line coach. So congratulations to him. Cool opportunity there, as another former Alabama-Auburn player from the state gets into the coaching world, and does so at a pretty prominent program. So certainly going to be working with some smart kids there, to say the least. So that's
it's just funny you say the ACC and you said Stanford.
Well, I had to think for a second, because I still get tripped up. Like,
yeah, it's a weird
doing
look.
That thing, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They are an ACC school now.
Yeah, them and Cal, for some reason, it really doesn't.
Yeah, screams ACC.
Really doesn't register still, but it's like, I forget sometime. When we're talking about, the Big Ten, all they have is Ohio. Like I forget, like Oregon and
Yeah.
and Washington. I'm like, oh yeah, they are technically Big Ten. It'll be a long time, I think, before that feels natural,
Right.
if ever. So it's okay. I still think sometimes like Maryland's plays ACC basketball, but
They're a Big Ten school.
they very much do not anymore. So it's been a long time since they did, but yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. It's hard to keep up with everything in today's day and age, unfortunately. So outside of what's going on there with Alabama and Auburn, the big news in the college football world, of course, is the Darian Mensah situation. And so officially, he is going to Miami. So him and Duke were able to come to a settlement where obviously I think Duke realized, okay, if we get into a situation where it comes down to money, Miami's going to pay probably whatever it takes to get this guy. You know what? You signed a contract with us. We appreciate what you did for us this year. We won an ACC championship, but we don't really want to go down this road. And we're going to do what we think is right by you and giving you an opportunity to go and, go to a different school and play, I guess, compete at a higher level, compete for a national championship, what have you, set yourself up better for the NFL. And they just kind of realized that, we could make this difficult, but that's not going to be better for anybody. If he doesn't want to be there, then we'll move on, whatever. So Darian Mensah is going to Miami, and now I think a lot of people are looking at Miami as one of those teams that's kind of on the short list for next year of, early national championship contenders. So that's certainly big news there that gets ultimately resolved. But, I don't know about you, Damian, but I think I'll definitely be looking at Miami differently. And look, they're going to be losing a lot. Like they're losing some big pieces on the offensive line and defensive line, and those, as we know, are huge areas. They led college football in sacks this year. Like that's production that you're going to have to find a way to go and get back. But now you look at, offensively, you got Fletcher coming back. We know they've got Pringle coming back, the guy that Alabama was going after in the running back room. You got Malachi Toney. You've got Darian Mensah now. Like you've got on paper one of the best offenses in the entire country. So a lot of people, I think, are going to be expecting Miami to win the ACC and find themselves back in the mix to go and play for another title.
Yeah, and I think this is what Mario Cristobal has really been trying to get Miami to be since he's been there. I think now, they had a couple hiccups, even with Cam Ward when he was there a couple seasons ago, where this is sustainable. You got guys, like you said, you got Mark Fletcher Jr., you have Malachi Toney, you're bringing in Darian Mensah. While there are pieces on the defensive side that may still have some question marks, I still think the identity of Miami is going to be rugged and tough. And I think that's where, if you could continue that style, I put it like this. I think Darian Mensah, I don't think he's better than Carson Beck or Cam Ward, but he's not far off. He's played a lot of football. He had Duke in the ACC championship. Like, Duke was the ACC football champions. Just kind of, that just sounds crazy in itself. But it was part of just what he was able to do as a quarterback. So I think that what Miami is going to be looking at now is going to be more of, was this past year just a flash in the pan? How sustainable is this going to be? Because, again, we've seen them play Louisville and see a quarterback throw 4 or 5 interceptions. We saw the loss against SMU. But when they needed to turn it around and really lock in, you saw that in the college football playoff. So now it's more of, it's easy to get to the top. It's harder to stay there. So now Miami, the clock starts for you. Or it was last year just kind of an off year, or is this going to be the model moving forward? And I think the pieces that you have, you got to feel pretty confident. And listen, if I had a couple dollars in my pocket, Malachi Toney would be one of the people I would throw real money at and say he could potentially win a Heisman Trophy. Since Devontae Smith, there have been talented wide receivers, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams of 2024. But Malachi Toney is one of those guys that you put the ball anywhere in his vicinity and let the magic happen.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of, depending on how they use him, like, and I hate comparing people to players like this, but it'd be like, almost like a modern day kind of Percy Harvin, like that kind of a player. And I don't say that lightly because I remember how good Percy Harvin was at Florida. So, but yeah, it could be a very nice year for Miami again next year. But Darian Mensah said that whole legal battle has come to a close, and he will be heading off to Miami.
Also, Duke plays Miami November 14th.
Yes, they do. So
Interesting.
that'll be a fun one.
It's a big reunion. Manny Diaz,
Mm-hmm.
Darian Mensah.
That'll be a fun game.
Yeah.
One of probably the biggest game in the ACC next year, right? At least on paper right now. But that's kind of your football roundup or college football roundup, everything that's going on there. But we do want to get you thinking ahead a little bit. So 8 days from now, we've got a big time event coming up here in Birmingham as your UAB Blazers are going to be hosting their biggest basketball game of the year at Bartow Arena next Thursday, February the 5th. They'll be taking on the Memphis Tigers, and tickets are available for you now at uabsports.com. The first 5,000 fans are going to get a free gold rally towel. Again, next Thursday, February the 5th, make sure you make it out to Bartow Arena, the biggest basketball game of the year, UAB versus Memphis. You can get your tickets online right now at uabsports.com. All right, well, yesterday we talked about something in the NFL that I thought was disgraceful, and somehow they topped themselves not even 24 hours later. This might be the most absurd and disgraceful thing that's happened in professional sports, seriously, in years. I was dumbfounded that this is what's going on. We'll tell you what it is and get your reaction next on Morning JOX.
6:35 here on Morning JOX. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order. Can't wait to get your reaction on some pretty interesting news coming from the NFL. I have a feeling that I think a lot of people are going to share the same sentiment. But let me tell you about our friends at Hometown Roofing and Restorations. Trust the experts for your roofing needs. Over 1,200 roofers in the Birmingham area. Make sure you call someone you can trust. Hometown Roofers is family owned, grounded in faith, and community oriented. Their customer satisfaction focused with your needs in mind, so you can count on honest communication. The goal is to get it right the first time. If it's an insurance claim, call Hometown and they'll take the ball for you, so don't have to worry about the red tape and the back and forth with the insurance company. Only top quality materials. Hometown is certified with 2 of the best national brands of shingle, and they offer lifetime material warranties. Financing is available. And wonder if you have an aging roof or some roof damage? Hometown offers free inspections. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Hometown Roofing and Restorations can handle siding, windows, gutters, and minor remodels. All you got to do is give them a call at 205-984-4777 or visit htroofers.com. Again, that number is 205-984-4777 or htroofers.com online. Hometown Roofing and Restorations. Do it right the first time.
So if you remember yesterday, if you were tuned in, or if you didn't, I'll tell you what we brought up, and that was, I had some opinions on the fact that Shedeur Sanders was being named to the Pro Bowl roster after, obviously, Drake May going to the Super Bowl. You had guys like Josh Allen and Justin Herbert who, banged up at the end of the year, don't want to participate. And so anyways, eventually it trickles down, and Shedeur Sanders, who had not a very impressive year, granted, not playing in a great situation. I'll give him that. Like, they weren't, I don't think Cleveland really wanted him to be in that position, but he was. And he didn't perform particularly well, but he's now going to find himself as a member of the Pro Bowl this season. And we were talking about how ridiculous that was. I go back a couple of weeks ago. You remember Cam Newton? He didn't get into the College Football Hall of Fame on his first ballot, which is asinine. I mean, again, the single greatest season in the history of the sport. That's where, I don't care if that's all you did. That's worthy of being in the Hall of Fame first ballot, in my opinion. I'm sorry, you win a Heisman Trophy, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. That I don't feel like that's a hot take. That you were the best player in the country at one point. I don't feel like that's a hot take. Just like I don't feel like it's a hot take to say that the coach who's won the most championships, like Nick Saban, wouldn't be a hot take to say that Nick Saban would be a first ballot Hall of Fame coach in college football. I think we all agree that's what's going to happen, right?
Makes common sense.
So surely at the professional level, if you've won the most Super Bowls ever as a head coach, you would think you would be probably a unanimous selection to the Hall of Fame, right? I mean,
That's what I think, Conrad.
In a lot of metrics, the greatest coach ever.
Ever.
The greatest to ever do your job in the history of human existence. And yet somehow Bill Belichick did not get in the Hall of Fame yesterday. The coach who won 6 Super Bowl titles as the head coach of the New England Patriots, he has 8 total, including his time as an assistant coach earlier on in his career. But he missed out on making the Hall of Fame. And so the way that it works is there's 50 voters. You have to get 40 or more of the 50 votes in order to get in. So that means that a minimum of 11, and I guess technically as many as 50, but obviously people voted for him, but I would guess somewhere between probably 11 and 15 people out there that vote for the National Football League Hall of Fame don't think the greatest coach of all time is worthy of inclusion on the first ballot. Now, do I think this is a situation where do I think he'll get in probably next year, the next year? Yeah. I think you have some people that wanted to. I think there's some people that maybe don't like Bill Belichick a whole lot, whether it's things that have been going on in his personal life lately, even though I don't think that should have any impact on how you view the guy, or at least his coaching career. I think the Deflategate, Spygate, those things from his time in the Patriots, I think that's more so where this comes from, and you maybe have some people that go, well, because you did that, or in my opinion, you cheated, or in order to accomplish the things you did, you had to, cut some corners, so to speak, that you're not worthy of being a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? And I could see that. I don't agree with it, but I would like to think that that would be your train of thought if you're one of the people that didn't vote for Bill Belichick. But seriously, imagine tomorrow the College Football Hall of Fame class comes out and they say, "Yeah, we just that Nick Saban guy, man, he was really good, but he kind of just needs to wait. He just needs to wait his time. Third ballot maybe, but can't let him in the first ballot. I mean, that's reserved for really, really special, exceptional talents." Oh, you mean like the guy that won the most Super Bowls in NFL history? I mean, the only thing, he's second in wins behind Don Shula. Oh, no. Second in wins. He is the greatest. I mean, you could make an argument he is the greatest football coach ever across any level. And yes, do I think that a lot of his success was predicated on Tom Brady being as great as he was? Absolutely. He still accomplished those things. He still won those rings. He still won those trophies. It is just crazy to me. Like, that is a mockery of the NFL. If you are a voter for the NFL Hall of Fame, you should be embarrassed. And if you're one of the people that did vote for him, you better be trying your damnedest to find out who didn't and finding a way to remove them from that board, because that is absolutely unacceptable.
I'm with you. I'm with you. When you look at his resume and everything that he's accomplished, to me, you can say the Deflategate, you can say Spygate, understandably so. Those are stains in his career. But when we discuss Hall of Fame, this is the best of the best of the best. Like, this is the elite of the elites. You can't tell the story of the New England Patriots. Really, you can't tell the story of NFL in the modern era without Bill Belichick's name being attached to this. So I think it's a mockery. It is whatever personal vendetta or whatever personal issues you have against somebody, that should not play factor into what the results are on the football field when he was coaching these teams. I'm with you. I think that, one, there should be clear indicators of what is considered a Hall of Famer. If you can't slap his resume on any piece of paper, on any desk, or look at his numbers and say that this isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, then what is the Hall of Fame at this point? Because to me, there's nobody that's outside of Don Shula, God rest his soul. If that is the conversation that he is in, that's literally the best and the second best to have ever done this.
It's like, it's not to get off on tangent. It's how I look at the LeBron thing. It's like, okay, we don't have to agree, but you're saying worst case scenario, he's the second best to ever do it?
Right.
Oh, no.
No. Okay, cool. But he's either in the first or the second best to have ever coached in the NFL. Ever. To have ever done. Nobody has won. Everybody talks about, Herm Edwards says it best. You play to win the game. Nobody has won more Super Bowls than this man, whether he had Tom Brady or not. I remember a Super Bowl within the past decade that was 13-3, and it wasn't like Tom Brady was out there lighting it up for the New England Patriots. A lot of people held the credit to, he's coaching against Sean McVay, who has the greatest offense ever assembled. Held him to 3 points because of his defensive scheme and the players that he put in the organization. I don't know. To me, it becomes a situation of, then what is a first ballot Hall of Famer anymore? Because if the person that has done it the best has to wait a year because people are still hell-bent on something he did in 2009, 2008, okay. Like, come on now. We got to move this stuff out the way. Because now you're about to turn yourself into the Baseball Hall of Fame, where it's, what more can he do? Now, yeah, you can say, listen, he's at North Carolina. They're not good. You also cannot separate.
That has nothing to do with what he accomplished in the National Football League.
Exactly. I'm with you. I think it's a slap in the face to Bill Belichick. No matter how you feel about him personally, one thing you cannot deny is his greatness as the head coach and the defensive coordinator all those years in the past as well, of his success in the National Football League. The man is a winner. He gets it done, and anybody that plays for him, like, there's a I guess you say a Belichick disciple that's coaching in the Super Bowl in next week, and Mike Vrabel played for him. And to me, you can't tell the story of modern day football without this guy, and I think it's disrespectful that he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I guess I look at it like this, and I think that, okay, this coach hasn't accomplished as much as Bill Belichick has, but he's still, I think, in the college football realm, I think a lot of us would say maybe the second or third best coach of the last 20 or 30 years. I'm talking about Urban Meyer. Like, that's a guy that I think a lot of people you would look at and go, okay, a lot of people probably don't like him a whole lot or have the best impression of him. Do I think he's a good person? Particularly, no, I don't. But I don't know him. But that's just my impression of him. Do I think he's absolutely one of the greatest college football coaches, probably of all time? Yeah, certainly of the modern era. Like, that's a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame on a first ballot. Like, I don't care. Again, I guess that's just where I get into certain things of are we awarding people based on what they accomplished in this field? Or is it, oh, well, I think that guy has a good personality, or I think that guy was a good person. Like, that's great. We want everybody to be a good person, but like, you're not voting Bill. It's like Tom Brady when he comes up for the Hall of Fame. Is it going to be, well, that Deflate Gate,
Right.
I don't know if I can vote for him now. No. Like, yeah, you can bring it up and laugh about it, and it can be something you consider, whatever. But I guess I look at it like, man, if you can't vote for a guy like Bill Belichick, regardless of what you think about him personally, based on what he accomplished, then that's embarrassing, and you shouldn't be allowed to vote for the Hall of Fame because clearly you're not capable of doing your job and separating what somebody did on the field and their accomplishments with, however you personally feel about them. So it is what it is. He'll get in at some point, but it is a disgrace. Unbelievable. Bill Belichick not getting in the NFL Hall of Fame on the first ballot as arguably the greatest coach of all time. So that's going to be a big story here today, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about that across the programming here on JOX. But we'd love to hear from you, 205-834-9450. That's how you get on the Courtesy GMC text line. We see some of you already chiming in there, as well as on the phone lines. We'll get to you next as we roll along here on Morning JOX. 6:52. Welcome back in here. Final few moments of Morning JOX before we hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. They're with you from 7 to 10, then three-man front 10 to 2, and Paul Feinbaum after that from 2 until 6. And we always like to remind you that flu season is still here, so you can make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those causing virus. It's 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. So go find a dealer near you today online at Trane.com. So going to get to your calls and text here in just a moment, but a quick reminder, tonight you do have SEC hoops going on. You're going to have Auburn taking on Texas. That is a 6 o'clock tip there in Neville Arena. You can hear it right here on JOX, and you can watch it on ESPN2. And then UAB, they are going to be on the road tonight taking on UTSA. That's a 7 o'clock tip on ESPN+. And, of course, you can hear that on the JOX family of networks as well. But UAB, a big-time favorite there over UTSA. So some hoops to look forward to tonight. All right, let's go to the phone line and the Courtesy GMC text line here. Let's get to Brandon first. He wants to chime in on the Bill Belichick conversation. How we doing, Brandon?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call. First of all, first ballot Hall of Fame for morning shows driving into work. You guys would make it. Now, as far as the Bill Belichick issue, I think a lot of it has to do with his personality with the reporters, his interviews, because, I mean, like, if they were voting on first ballot interviews, pre-game, post-game interviews, he would not make it. Because that's just the way he is.
Yep.
I mean, some of the reporters, they ask most craziest questions, and I mean, after a loss, well, how do you feel? Well, how do you think I feel? But as far as like what he did on the field, I mean, he is only as good as his owner. His owner set him up for a position of glory. He did it. And I think that that's just a snub. And I think a lot of it has to do with the writers and the reporters that get to vote on this for personality reasons. Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, again, like Bill Belichick, I think we can all understand as a guy that could probably rub you the wrong way, or a guy that, could come off as cold, like, because just doesn't tell you a whole lot, right? He doesn't share a whole lot about himself personally. And I think that's maybe why it's so shocking now with all the Jordan stuff for somebody that was so reserved, that for now this to kind of be the way that you come out, publicly and share your personal life is a little surprising. But again, I would argue that should not matter whatsoever when it comes to the Hall of Fame voting. Like, I don't care if I like somebody. Are they good at what they did? Right? Like, Ty Cobb was a horrible human being. Great baseball player, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Horrible human being.
Yep.
Terrible.
I'm with you.
Like, you can go and look at any professional sports Hall of Fame, and you can go and look at people and go, that wasn't a great person, but guess what? They were a great athlete. They were great at that job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Hall of Fame's for.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. It's not I know that that's hard for people, obviously, to get across. And let's be honest, right? A lot of the people, especially in baseball, but, in the NFL too, clearly, like let's be honest, you got a lot of old, grumpy white men.
Facts.
That hold grudges and are petty about things.
Yep.
And it just is what it is. But yeah, this is embarrassing.
Because what is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach if Bill Belichick?
Yeah, if it's not Bill Belichick, I better not ever see another coach be a first ballot Hall of Famer, because they're not Bill Belichick. I'll tell you that much. I love Andy Reid. He's not Bill Belichick. Sean McVay, not Bill Belichick. Oh, absolutely ridiculous. Well, appreciate y'all joining us here. We're back tomorrow at 6 a.m., but Mac and Cube, those guys are up.